It's Sunday morning, 24th of April. I've made it up to London and I'm just heading out of Lancaster Gate Station, heading towards Paddington. Slight hiccup this morning, in as much as I was due on the 7:38 train, and luckily for me I always try and go a little bit earlier, so I took the earlier train only to be notified that the 7:38 was cancelled. So it always pays to take the early train. So far it's the longest I've walked with the backpack on, and it's feeling okay. I guess time will tell, but I've got this little walk up to Paddington which will give me a bit of a feel for it, and I must say it's feeling quite comfortable. Well, it's the morning of day one. Spent the last night in the Penzance hostel, which was excellent. Had a room to myself because of the new COVID regulations and everything, and a good continental breakfast this morning before I set out. Some trepidation today because after yesterday, perhaps it was the drive, sitting so long on the train, but yesterday the hips and the tops of the legs were suffering quite badly by the end of the day. And that's without any real walking, but feeling a bit better this morning, and not a particularly scenic part of the path, quite a lot of dog walkers and railway track alongside you, but looking forward to getting out of Penzance and onto the Royal Coast Path. I think this would have made an excellent spot for a wild camp tonight, but unfortunately a bit too close. As it is, I've probably done about 4 or 5 miles so far. First view of the Lizard Point. Well, Carne Point is proving very beautiful, but definitely something of a struggle to get up. It's quite shaly and loose rock, so you have to be a bit careful as you go. But it's the first real climb of the walk so far, so I really can't complain too much. Maybe a couple of blisters that are starting can complain, but hopefully I'll be able to stop them tonight. I think about a couple of miles to go to where I want to be tonight, and we'll see how we get on. This is probably one of the best views, and possibly one of the last actually, that I'll get back to St Michael's Mount and Penzance, which is where I started this morning, sort of over there roughly. and once I get on the other side of Carne Point, I think that view might be lost to me. Time now is just gone 2 o'clock and I'm only just leaving Penzance. Had a few technical issues. One was that I found last night that the sleeping bag I brought with me is actually a 2 to 3 season rather than the 3 to 4 that I thought it was, and extremely cold last night, so I felt the effects of that. So I headed back into Penzance by the local bus and looked at other sleeping bags, but decided in the end just to take a new liner, which will add a few degrees to the sleep quality, hopefully. In addition to that, there was an issue with the pole yesterday, the walking pole. One of these fast connect clips just disappeared from the pole. Not a very good design, and consequently I could hardly use it, so managed to get a bolt, which you may see there from an auto shop, and fix that. And the third calamity was the waste bag. The cost for that was 40, and it kept popping open, which meant that I had to stop, take everything, the whole rucksack off, in order to try and reposition it and reconnect it. So I've managed to fix that this morning as well. So not much time left for walking really today, so I'm heading just over the next headland, probably about 3 miles or so, to a campsite there, and then the following day I'll head on down towards the Lizard. It's the morning of day 3, the start of day 3, and a little bit of deja vu, in as much as I am back to the tin mine that I passed yesterday. In order to get to the campsite that I wanted, I had to double back and loop for a couple of miles. Well, I just got back to the spot where I left the path yesterday, and the wind has picked up considerably. It's still coming from the east and still pretty cold, but overall it looks a lovely bright day, and going to head off to Port 11 and see what's down there. Such a thing as throwing yourself in the deep end when it comes to hiking. I think I've pretty much done it. Not sure if you can see the stairs in the background there, but this is about the third set so far, and they are killers. Just outside of Porthleven now, quite a touching memorial which has been placed here for the fishermen who are lost in several tragic accidents. It appears the coastal path takes you across the sands to the other side, which makes life a bit hard going. And Lou Bar is backed by Lou Pool, which is a National Trust feature apparently, where according to the signage you can't swim, kayak, camp, snorkel, dive, or very much else for some reason. The sand is almost impossible to walk on, so I'm heading up to where there's a bit of green. Hopefully that'll be a bit easier. It's quite a still morning now. No wind around, very quiet, nobody else on the track that I've met so far, but undoubtedly this is the sort of thing I was expecting, and at the moment the going is pretty easy, so that's helping me out a bit. This is Gunwallow Beach. This is my lunch stop today, Thursday, the 4th day. I'm about just over, maybe halfway, maybe just over halfway through the walk for the day. I'm heading towards Mullion, and there's a campsite about a mile or so past Mullion. So I've got about 4 miles plus, maybe 5 to go. Feet are still killing me. Taking the opportunity to get them out. Apologies if they actually got the shot on my feet, but there you are. And stopping here for a brew and a pasty from Philps, who arguably, of course, make the best pasties in Cornwall. Leaving Seaview campsite, farm campsite, which was a very nice place to stay. I was very lucky to find it. I was heading for the Far View campsite, which when I got there, there was just one big field, nobody staying there, and nothing had been cut even, so it wasn't too good. Let's let this car go past. Luckily, there was a local guy just walking past, and he basically, directed me up the lane about 100 yards to another campsite I'd never heard of, called the Seaview campsite. It wasn't on my map even, and that turned out to be a wonderful place to stay. Now heading off down the lane to rejoin the path at the earliest point, and heading down to Lizard via Carne's Cove. This one's a double. Let's see how we get on. Really don't want to make one false move here. Be a long way to get any help. And safely over. It appears from the look of this pathway that I'm pretty lucky. It's obviously at certain times of year this is an absolute quagmire across here, not helped by the fact it looks like it's used by horses and cattle which just plough it all up, but at the moment virtually everything that I'm going over is dry, so another good reason for coming at this time of year, I guess. What you call one of the trickier and more rugged sections. Over the top there to Carne's Cove. If the video will do it justice, but this rock face here, this cliff face, it is just enormous. It's astounding when you just look at it. And just over the back there is the nasty little section I've just come up. Little piece here is called the Four Sisters. Now actually I've got no idea what it's called, but these four sort of ridge lines of rock coming out into the sea seem to me like they deserved a name. And I don't know if the video will pick it out, but right at the very back, on the back ridge, there is somebody climbing. In fact, he's just disappeared from view. Oh, there he is. Across this scene, just outside of, or just off the Lizard Point, before you reach the Lizard Point, and basically a dolphin has stranded itself in this gully. I think it's quite amazing that there are people who are going to turn out like this or just throw themselves into the water to help them to save this lovely creature. I hope they succeed. This is the Lizard Point as I'm leaving it, and down here we have Hounslow Bay, which I'm told by one of the locals is the finest bathing beach in the world according to them. Morning, it's day 6 and I've just left Lizard Village, rejoined the footpath, and I'm heading up to Cadgwith, which isn't particularly far, or it shouldn't be, but it is supposed to be quite rugged, quite up and down, and still experiencing a few problems, pains and the like, so trying to manage those and not overdo it. But day 6, we're moving on, and a few days I should be up to Falmouth certainly. Just passing Marconi's Radio Shacks and heading on from there up to the famous Lloyd's signal station. This part of the coastline seems absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely morning and the area absolutely abounds with wildlife and birds. There's been plenty of rabbits out, but in terms of birds, there's shags on the rock down there. There's been wheatear, stone chats, rock pipits, all manner of things, linnets, all around. So exceedingly nice. I've had quite a few discussions about the use of walking poles, these things, and with my stepson, he was favouring the idea of 2 poles. I was favouring 1 so that I have a hand free. What I've learned so far is that 1 is absolutely essential for balancing on tricky sections, so I certainly wouldn't be without 1. But I have been using the 1 pole that I have in my right hand generally, and that I think maybe has led to a problem with my left leg now. That's developing a bit of a painful area, which could be down to the fact that using the pole has changed the way I'm using both legs effectively. So I'm going to have to watch that, and today I'm going to be trying not to use it unless I actually need it for balance, and then just, you know, stop using it again as soon as I can. There's another wheatear just taken off. Beautiful little birds. Well, I'm just at the top of a really horrendous climb out of Church Cove, but I'm at the top now, but they do like to make it a little bit harder, and you've got one of these stone step stiles to finish it off, so let's get over that one more safely, but not the end of the climb, it appears. A little bit more to do, and for the first time just had 2 buzzards in the sky, first ones I've seen on the path. The weather at the moment has warmed up, it tends to come and go. Suddenly that wind will spring up again, and the sun will go behind a cloud and it drops dramatically. But for the moment, this is a little bit of a change of scenery, and a nice little bit of shade through this little wooded section. I've just arrived at Cadgwith Camping, which is a Cadgwith farm. It's a dairy farm. Quite a large field. Not too many people staying here at the moment at all. And as for the amenities, this is it, which I have to say I think is incredible. In the middle of a field. And we have a composting toilet with all the necessary sawdust there to deal with anything. And then over here we have the shower, which I'm about to use, with everything you could need. Nice shower, wash some clothes, and then get them hung out on the line on the tent. I'll see you later. And rain is forecast for the day. It's been raining already, so I've had to pack up the tent wet, which is never ideal, but there you go. But I figured it's supposed to be raining from about 9 o'clock and not stopping till about 9 o'clock tonight, so I'll try and make some distance up towards Coverack before it sets in. It does say light rain, so it may or may not be bad. Time will tell. Well, having got up extra early and packed up in the rain, the sun is now shining. Wasn't expected, wasn't forecast, and the rain may still come a bit later on, but it's quite typical. Gets you out of bed early and then it brightens up. But nevertheless, got this nice little walk down into Cadgwith, and then I've just got to find my way through the village and out the other side. It's quite a nice little I'd almost say like a fairy gate here. I don't know whose idea that is, but it's rather quaint. There are some absolutely devilish ascents and descents on this track, and I think at any age carrying this bag on your back would challenge anybody. There's not even any sort of toe holds, so it's really sort of step at a time. But not far to Kennock Sands now, so looking forward to that. Now, although somebody I was just talking to, a young cyclist who's just been swimming down here, seems to think that the forecast is for rain later on now in the day, but I'll take this for as long as it lasts. Thought I'd stop here and get the boots off and actually go into the sea to get some salt water on my feet and give them a bit of a rest, which was absolutely lovely. But it is freezing, so top marks to anybody who, like the people I have seen, who are actually going in for a swim, like the young girl this morning. She says she does it right the way through the winter, and I believe her, but she's welcome to it. I'll stick with the paddling. I am in between Penzance and Cornwall, and I have to say that this section down into this cove and back out again, steps at first, but overall it's much more like a rock climb than coastal path. It appears it's pony time, and for some reason they seem to like to lay right in your path. I don't know what the score is, whether they're happy to see you, but they certainly don't seem to be bothered. They're quite big lads as well. Hey, you boy. I think it's fair to say they're totally unfazed. Seen it all before. Oh, that's nice. So far, so I've not really done very much filming this morning at all, but it is brightening up a little bit now. The cloud is getting a bit lighter, and I'm on my way to next village I sort of pass. I think it's Portistock. I've just passed the Dean Quarry, which is no longer used. There has been talk about them reopening it, but so far nothing, and the footpath runs right through it at the moment. Apparently when they were using it, the footpath was still there, but if the flags were flying, then you were prohibited to cross over. I thought the path was going to follow along the back of this beach, but it appears to actually cut inland here. There's a set of steps and a bridge there, and somehow or other, I think probably following that upper hedge line, it would take me over the top of that that headland to Portistock. The path has taken me away from the coast for a minute and heading into what looks like a little settlement or a little hamlet called Rosenthal, however the Cornish would pronounce it. But it looks like I'm just going to touch on Rosenthal and then cut across the headland to Portistock. It's been quite different today. There's very much a change of scene. Craggy, some more smooth going, but lots of rocks strewn on the path. Just outside Rosenthal, as you climb out of the village, there's these rather large stones which they call the Devil's Quoits. It says they were over at Manacle Point near the quarry for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, and as the quarry expanded they had them re-sited here. Well, I was about to say just now that after a long descent into Portistock and the promise of a long climb out, there was nothing much to shout about, but those little cottages there are absolutely beautiful. The weather has also changed today. It seems much more humid. Wind that's been blowing for so long seems to have stopped, and as you can see, this terrain is very, very different to what I've been used to up till now. At the inn in Porthallow, which is quite a way marker on this journey, if you're doing the whole thing, especially because I believe there's a sign over here somewhere, which we'll go and have a look at, which tells you this is the halfway mark. The side of the sign certainly doesn't tell you that. But as I recall, it is the halfway. Well, according to how you look at it, today is either turning into a disaster or it's going better than expected. The walk this morning back to what should have been the Fat Apples was so much easier than the walking I've had previously, that I was in that area by about 11 o'clock. So that left me with one other option at the time, which was a farm camping past Porthallow. Even that one was too close, really. I checked the times for the tide at Flushing to enable me to wade across the first river there, and the tide wasn't right for that. So I've had no alternative but to continue walking inland to get round to the ferry to take me across the main river here. It may include taking a bus for a little while because there are no campsites anywhere near. But if I can get a bus across to Mayenporth, I can camp there for the night, and that is just short of Falmouth. So that could work well for me. But all in all, that'll mean about a 12-mile day today, which is probably the longest day so far. I'm now heading to Manacle, which is now 1.5 miles, and then another mile, I think, down to the ferry, or thereabouts, hopefully. Just taking a footpath here, which is just cutting a corner for me. Take a little bit of road off getting to Manacle, but in the same time, this must be the 5th of these hurdles rather than stiles that I've had to get over. but nearly back to the road at the moment. And this is it. Unhook the thing at the back, turn it to yellow.
Big success with Few Grove.
Oh.
So that's
where it all started.
well, it's not exactly that because obviously
And rehook it.
we rode together for a year.
Have a good journey back.
Thank you. Yes, I wish I.
Right, I'm just heading down the pier at Falmouth to pick up the St Maur's ferry and then cross on another ferry to a place called Place in order to rejoin the coastal path. So at the moment it's a glorious day, the sun is shining, and I imagine it's going to be a good day for the walk. This is St Maur's. I've just got the ferry across from Falmouth, and the little boat coming in behind me is the Place ferry, so I don't have any time to look around here particularly. It's straight aboard the Place ferry and across to Place.
Right hand fully down. So that's it. So you turn your bow out. You can still now go still.
And heading off along a very pretty track, which you can see behind me here. Rejoining the coast path, which at this point takes us around to a little church, I believe, where a friend of mine says to have a look, as he thinks we went there once before, and there's a lot of people with the same name as him buried there, apparently. Not his family, but it's an old Cornish name. So hopefully I'm on the right track. natives that my friend was talking about. Spry is his name. It's apparently not that common these days, but it is a very old Cornish name. So I'm going to go and have a little look inside, but I'm struck initially by the doorway here, very reminiscent of the church doorways in the Poitou-Charentes, where we had our property, on a much smaller scale than most of the ones over there, but nevertheless it bears a lot of similarity. Herd of cows here, and one sheep, it would appear. I think there are a few calf in there, not very young though, but I'm always a bit wary of cows when they've got calves. If they feel threatened, they can be quite dangerous. It seems they didn't mind me. Following me? No, I think we're okay. Just a last look at Falmouth before I sort of go into some woodland up there, and then I think we're going to turn a corner. And just at the top of the hill there is Penzance Castle. Take the higher path and miss out on the cows. Stopped for lunch. I found a bench on a very remote part of St Anthony's Head, but it has spectacular views, so I couldn't really ask for anything better for lunch. The pasty of the day is from Warren's in Falmouth, who boast that they are the oldest pasty maker in the world. So I don't know how true that is. I did ask them if theirs were the best, and surprise, surprise, they reckon they are. Well, I had a fairly leisurely stroll around St Anthony's Head, down to the lighthouse, and took my lunch down there. Took quite a few pictures and a little bit of video, and consequently I'm now on a straighter section, hopefully. So I've got about 4 miles to go to Portesco. So it's basically head down and crack on. fairly good progress towards Verrian now. Since I left St Anthony's Head, the way has been mostly over the cliff tops on fairly green pastures. Quite a few cows, quite a few sheep grazing. So it's all been quite nice walking. So I've just tried to plod on and get towards the campsite. Getting a little bit footsore again now and the ankle's swelling slightly, so the sooner I can get there now the better. So just keep marching on. Very close now to the area where I've got to turn off for the campsite, and looking across there, that appears to be the route for tomorrow, around that large bay, up over that headland, and I'm not certain how much further than that at the moment, but that's for tomorrow. This is the start of my last day's walking. I'm heading up to a place called, I think, Trewithian, but I'd like to get a bit further than that today and come back probably, because the campsite I'm heading for tonight isn't quite far enough. We'll see how it goes. It looks a nice day. I'm all packed up at the campsite and ready to hike. I think of it, I've just, as I say, decamped, got the bag on my back, walked off, and for the first time since I've been walking, the bag seemed really light. Now there's two things to think about that. One is that I have used a lot of the food and stuff like that. I'm not carrying a full load of water, and they say it takes well over a week to get used to wearing the backpack. Well, it is the first day that the backpack's actually felt light. I'm just arriving at Port Scatho, a very pretty little harbour, I've been told here. To walking, there were a couple of other things I wanted to, or three I think, other things I wanted to do while I was down here. Everyone said I had to do. One was eat Cornish pasties, which I've eaten quite a few. Go for a swim. That's something I've been thinking about doing all the way along, and today was the first day when I found a cove that seemed just right. So I had a swim. And the third thing was to have a cream tea. Now the hidden cafe didn't do cream teas, so I'm marching on, and maybe I'll find one, maybe I won't. I have said for various reasons I picked a good time to come, and not least of all the wildflowers. So many of the lanes and cliff tops and pathways have been bedecked with lovely spring wildflowers. So it was a good choice. Walking along the Roseland Heritage Coast. So I think I'm going to have a walk along to the next village and then come back from there. I'd like to see what all the purple is up there as well. I'm realising now that it is all bluebells. I just cannot stop taking pictures of this beautiful area. It's just stunning. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before. Just wonderful. I'm now walking along on Penzance Beach, which is going to mark the end of my walk. And I'm hoping maybe I'll get a celebratory beer down here. Well, it appears that the beach I was walking along started out as Penzance Beach, but ended up as Carne Beach at the other end. So Carne Beach was the furthest point on my walk. It was also the point where one of the locals directed me to a hotel there, which they said had a bar. But when I got there, it appeared to be closed. So I'm going without, and I'm just now heading back along a slightly different section of the coast path, back to Penzance Beach, then back over the top to the campsite. So another couple of miles and most of my walking will be over.